before we get into Apple Music itself, just where Apple was with regards to where things are happening in the industry. Because by the time you get to 2009, 2010, of course, Jobs is sick by this point, but he was also still leading this company and was quite adamant about where music was going. I think the past 10 years worked in his favor in terms of how his company captured value and how prescient he was, and pushing back on all of the label heads to be able to say, hey, this is what we need to do. Your services aren't cutting it, and this is the price it needs to be. But the one place where there's clearly a divide was with music streaming and with online subscriptions. And he has this quote that he had about music streaming that I want to share. People have told us over and over and over again, they don't want to rent their music. Just to make that perfectly clear, music is not like video. Your favorite movie, you may watch 10 times in your life. Your favorite song, you're going to listen to 1,000 times in your life. If it costs you $10 a month or over $100 a year for a subscription fee to rent that song, that means for me to listen to my favorite song in 10 years, I paid over $1,000 in subscription fees to listen to my favorite song 10 years from now. And that just doesn't fly with customers. They don't want subscriptions, end quote. So not only did he generally believe this, like he was quite passionate. He believed that people should own their music and that fans should own their music. And to some extent, yes, fans do enjoy owning their music, but we clearly see with where music has gone and where Apple itself went after Jobs had passed away in 2011, that wasn't the future and where things ended up going.
Yeah, I think he was right to some extent. If you are a big music person, you probably do own your favorite album on vinyl, and you put it on your record player when you want to chill out and really experience it in that way. You don't want Kanye going back in and messing around with Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy and changing it so that you can't hear it in its original form. You don't want new Kanye coming in and messing up old Kanye's work or something. Whereas if you have something on the streaming services, artists can go in and change it. But that's pretty rare, right? It's mostly just Kanye doing that. So
I'm going to fix wolves. I'll never forget that tweet. I'm going to fix wolves.
Steve Jobs was wrong, more globally about that point, because I think he was neglecting to realize sort of the convenience factor, and just to be able to have an unlimited buffet of anything, and you're only paying $10 a month. What is your, and there've been studies on this, right? Like, what is a consumer's willingness to pay for music? How much are you spending per year? And, maybe in the old days you were going out and buying one CD a month. How much better to just pay $10 or $12 or whatever it is, and then you have an essentially unlimited buffet forever. And, personally, I'm kind of lazy, I just don't, I have a decent amount of vinyl, but you gotta like put the thing on, and then, and then it's like a 20 minutes until the first side is over. And then you have to interrupt what you're doing like pretty quickly because it's spinning. You don't want the needle to wear, it's just like a whole thing. So, you really have to be dedicated to, you have to be in the mood. You can't take it with you. You can't sort of like move around the apartment with it. So, I think he was neglecting to think of the convenience factor, and, maybe he was letting his own sort of proclivities color the way he thought about things. And, I get the sense that he was sort of an audiophile and cared a lot about, the quality of the audio. I don't like, honestly, for most people, you just want to put the headphone in and have something going, and you're not paying too much attention. You just want to have a soundtrack to your life. And I think that's probably where he miscalculated. Not that it really ended up affecting Apple negatively in the long run, but it certainly led to some big changes in the business after he died.
I think it probably delayed Apple's entry into music streaming to some extent, because for most of the aughts, Apple led the music revolution. Apple was the ones. Jobs said where the industry was heading, and everyone was like, all right, well, if we're going to say yes to anyone, we might as well say yes to you, right? Some of it was begrudging. There was clearly some debates there, but he led things. He passes, and then Apple then shifts a bit more to following trends, not necessarily in a bad way, but we see that the strategy shifts a bit because by the time the early 2010s come along, Spotify is clearly gaining steam. They have their US launch and they had already been working for a few years. SoundCloud is starting to gain traction. You're starting to see this whole SoundCloud rap culture continue to grow. So there's this music streaming movement happening, but Apple isn't quite with that. And then by that point, I think they do realize that, hey, we do need to get in the game. And very similar to the beginning of this story where Jobs and the Apple team sees this MP3 player in SoundJam MP and they want to get involved with that, they also see what Beats has been doing with Beats Music and the potential there, and then more broadly with the Beats brand. Thanks for watching Trapital on YouTube. If you enjoyed this clip, please make sure to check out the full episode that's available on our channel. And while you're at it, subscribe to our YouTube channel. You'll get all the updates on all the clips, videos, and breakdowns that we have on Trapital.